In the early 20th century, few society couples lived as lavishly as Dr. Satterwhite and his wife, Florence. This dynamic pair split their time between two spectacular mansions, the cliffside Martin Hall in Great Neck, New York, and the oceanfront Casa Florencia in Palm Beach, Florida. Their story is one of immense wealth, architectural grandeur, and personal tragedy, unfolding amid the twilight of the Gilded Age. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit the subscribe button, and let's explore this house. Born in Louisville in 1867, Preston Satterwhite proudly claimed ancestors among early Kentucky pioneers with ties to the Breckenridge and Preston families. Like his father and grandfather before him, Preston trained as a physician. In his early 20s, he moved to New York City to practice surgery, where he built both medical renown and social connections. By the 1910s, having attained financial comfort and a refined cultural taste, Preston eased out of active medical practice to focus on art collecting and high society life. Now his wife, Florence Brokaw, had an equally privileged, if more dramatic path to prominence. Born in 1857 to the wealthy Brokaw family of New York, Florence was by upbringing a member of the moneyed elite. In the 1890s, she married James E. Martin Sr., an executive of the Standard Oil Company. Martin was considerably older and had already retired by the time he built a grand estate for his wife on Long Island. Tragedy struck in 1905 when James Martin passed away following an automobile accident. He left Florence a several million-dollar fortune. Widowed, but immensely wealthy, Florence suffered another blow in 1908 when her only son contracted typhoid while traveling abroad. In desperation, she summoned a respected New York surgeon to Paris to treat her gravely ill son. That doctor was Preston Satterwhite. Sadly, the boy's time came to an end before Dr. Satterwhite's arrival, but out of this tragedy bloomed an unexpected bond, and later that same year, Florence and Preston were married in New York. As a couple, the Satterwhites embodied high society privilege. Florence's inheritance, combined with Preston's success, enabled a life of extravagant homes, art collecting, and glittering social gatherings. They maintained a residence in Manhattan and divided their year between Long Island and Florida. Each winter, the Satterwhites decamped to Casa Florencia, their custom Palm Beach villa, while in other seasons they resided at Martin Hall, their Long Island estate. Martin Hall was a sprawling estate along the cliffs of Great Neck on Long Island with sweeping views over Long Island Sound. The mansion was originally built around 1900 for Florence's first husband, to serve as their country home near New York City. Martin commissioned the New York architects Little and O'Connor to design the residence in 1900. The result was a large red brick manor house often described as somewhat eclectic in design, an embodiment of turn-of-the-century taste. After James Martin's untimely passing, the estate took on a new life. His widow Florence inherited Martin Hall, and upon marrying Dr. Satterwhite in 1908, made it the Satterwhites' primary residence. The couple soon embarked on enhancements to both house and grounds. Between 1915 and 1918, they hired the famed Olmsted brothers to redesign the gardens and surrounding parkland. Under the Olmsteds' direction, the estate's grounds were transformed into idyllic formal gardens, terraces, and pathways, as important to the property's splendor as the mansion itself. In Martin's time, the interior looked like this, with broad arches, deep paint colors, and remnants of what would later be described as fussy Victorian decor. Though the overall layout of the house was more contemporary than the original furnishings, with a sweeping bifurcated staircase rounding out opposite the front door and formal rooms laid out symmetrically around it. This is the last photo we'll see from that time period, noting tapestries, pottery, and antiques nestled in every nook and cranny. Florence and Preston undertook a tasteful redesign in the 1920s. They updated Martin Hall's interiors to better suit Jazz Age elegance, simplifying the decor and toning down the excess ornamentation of the previous century. The redesigned entrance hall featured cleaner lines, classical details, and a lighter color palette, illustrating the shift from Victorian style trends to a more streamlined 1920s aesthetic. Throughout the house, antique European furnishings and art collected by the Satterwhites were tastefully and sparingly integrated, reflecting the couple's cultivated interest. Now, if Martin Hall represented the twilight of the Gilded Age in the north, Casa Florencia was the Satterwhites' sunny winter haven in the south and a vivid example of roaring 20s tropical architecture. In 1922, Dr. Satterwhite commissioned prominent society architect Addison Mizner to design a new villa in Palm Beach for himself and Florence. Palm Beach was then coming into its own as the winter playground of America's elite, and Addison Mizner was its undisputed star architect. Completed in 1923, Casa Florencia was a Mediterranean-style oceanfront mansion on South Ocean Boulevard, Palm Beach's most coveted address. Its design was pure Mizner: stucco walls and red barrel tiles, arcaded loggias, shady cloisters, and a picturesque mix of Spanish and Italian Renaissance elements. Inside, Mizner incorporated atmospheric old-world touches that delighted the Satterwhites and their guests. One highlight was a Gothic-style dining room, complete with a vaulted ceiling and carved details evoking a medieval castle hall. This grand dining hall displayed Mizner's flair for historic European motifs. Throughout Casa Florencia, the rooms were furnished with fine European antiques and art from the Satterwhites' collection. The couple's travels had helped them acquire tapestries, continental furniture, and other treasures, lending the Florida home an air of old European aristocracy in a tropical setting. Black marble hearths, wrought iron balconies, hand-painted Spanish tiles, all the hallmarks of Mizner's romantic style, found a place in Casa Florencia's richly appointed interiors. The home was not only architecturally impressive, but also well-suited to entertaining Palm Beach society. One can easily imagine the Satterwhites hosting elegant winter soirees under the vaulted ceiling, surrounded by palms and ocean breezes. The glittering chapter of Preston and Florence's life together came to an end in 1927, when Florence passed away at the age of 69 after a brief illness. Dr. Preston Satterwhite was left a widower, but one with a considerable fortune and no heirs. Grieving, yet immensely wealthy, Preston honored Florence's memory in a dramatic way. He purchased a half-acre plot at Louisville's Cave Hill Cemetery, and there built a Temple of Love memorial in pink marble to serve as Florence's mausoleum. After Florence's passing, Preston initially continued living at Martin Hall. He maintained the Great Neck estate for a few more years, likely rattling around the vast rooms filled with memories. However, in 1932, disaster struck. A fire ignited by an electrical short in the mansion's organ caused a blaze that burned Martin Hall to the ground. Rather than rebuild the aged mansion, he relocated permanently to Manhattan, taking up residence in a spacious 20-room Fifth Avenue apartment. In New York, and during his summers in Europe, Dr. Satterwhite continued to indulge his cultural passions. He became a noted art philanthropist, gifting portions of his collection to museums. He passed away in late 1948 at age 81, but true to his roots, his body was brought back to Kentucky for burial alongside Florence. Down in Florida, Casa Florencia had a slightly longer life, but by the early 1950s, the mansion was slated for demolition. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Which mansion did you like the best? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.